know, it's a fool that thinks they can roam this earth alone, which is why it's good to have one or two other fools with you to make the journey more bearable. I'm talking about friends. Now, friends aren't just people who pick you up at the airport in exchange for a double-double and a chicken sandwich. A friend is somebody who you share an unspoken bond with. Now, say you're at the petting zoo and you see a small child get headbutted by a billy goat. That is a hilarious image that you should never laugh at out of human decency. But if you're with your best friend, you know you have a new game of seeing who's gonna crack first. Because with your friend, you've got an unspoken bond and understanding of knowing that you two can communicate in ways that other people may not understand. It's a chemistry, a complicity, and a connection. And here on Prince Edward Island, you've got friends that are as thick as thieves, built upon bonds of love and memories that will last a lifetime, whether you like them or not. And speaking of fools, here's one now. Benton! Get off the dang rocks, boy. You're gonna hurt yourself. Ben, we're here in Victoria by the Sea, and I know you've got a lot of work here. You've got a long relationship with this community. What can you tell us about where we're at here today?
Yeah, so Victoria by the Sea, it's this beautiful, obviously you can tell it's just the most gorgeous place on the island, and indeed perhaps even the world as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Kind of midway between the bridge and Charlottetown, so it gets a lot of foot traffic coming either to or from, going or coming, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, there's a beautiful theater here, which is where I've been employed for 3 seasons now. This is my 3rd year here, doing lots of fun shows, and yeah, I love it here. It's beautiful, and it's you want to talk about like a place informing work and the people informing work. This place is a community. It's so beautiful, and you walk into Island Chocolates, and the people are always like, "Oh, what's going on at the theater?" and vice versa.
That's nice.
It's really got a sense of.
And they give you free chocolate.
That is not true. Don't quote me. I've never said that.
No. He walks out with chocolate whether he pays for it or not,
yeah,
folks.
That's not okay. That's fine.
Libel.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a public figure, so I don't think you can defame me.
Fair enough. So you and I, we've got a long-standing history, not just working together, but we're artists, we're storytellers, we're performers. We have a strong relationship with theater, especially here on PEI. And I'm wondering, as a creator, how has communities like Victoria and other communities across PEI, how has that informed and inspired your work?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, I've done the Toronto thing. I've lived there for 4 years, and I love it in Toronto, and I think, like, it is truly, like, we make fun of Toronto a lot for being the center of the universe, but I think to a certain extent in our industry it kind of is.
Yeah.
But coming back to PEI during the pandemic and, like, calling this place home for that time has been really lovely, because there is an idea of identity and community, and you can kind of you're beholden to the past, but you can shape your own future.
Wow.
In an interesting way, because like you are beholden to your family's name and to who those are. Like people talk about, oh, you're so and so's son, or how's your father, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So you're beholden to that sort of past, but also there's a lot of room here to kind of be like, well, no, I'm Justin Shaw.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not necessarily just my parents' son. So I can come in and I can tell you your own stories, and we can connect that way. And I've been experimenting and kind of exploring that myself in my own work. So I think there's the best of both worlds here that way.
How do you describe a guy like Farley Drexel Gallant? Well, he's behind the wheel of a 1978 Ford F-250. He's a few berries short of a basket. He's a few tools short of a shed. He's a few cents short of $1. He's a few notches short of a belt. He's a few puppies short of a litter. He's a few letters short of an alphabet. He's the kind of guy whose retirement plan involves lottery tickets. He's the kind of guy who once lost $100 on an NFT that he sold to himself. He's the kind of guy who, when he bought an antique typewriter, he looked at the thing and asked the sales clerk, "Where do you plug in the printer?" He's the kind of guy who, when his girlfriend Rebecca said they were expecting their first child, "We should buy a family car," he blew the life savings on a 1978 Ford F-250, perhaps thinking the baby could just ride in the back. He's also the kind of guy that knows that when his best friend Donald calls, a guy who doesn't reach out very often, you answer first ring. because that's what friends do.
I remember you and I, a conversation we had, and I don't know what I think we were on one that day, but we were thinking about what's the most island stories we could think of as a joke, and you had the story about the fisherman and the ghost.
Yep, the fisherman and the ghost. Yeah.
And I said, what about a story about a yard sale? And we were just joking about it, and then we both actually went off and discovered
And here we are 2 years later, both with scripts about those ideas, and they will be battling to the death in the Thunderdome coming soon.
And made in earnest too, not in any sort of parody or anything like that.
Like, I think that community, like tight-knit communities across Prince Edward Island, it's inevitable, right? You just can't get away from it. Even in Charlottetown, you think about like the big city, the cosmopolitan center that is Charlottetown, there's still such a tight-knit group of people and a community there that you have to serve, or you won't survive as a theater artist. Right? And so you can try to run away from it, and you can try to strike out and give them something they've never seen before, or something like that. And there is value in that, but I think in order to like fully embrace the place that you are, you have to tell people the stories that they're interested in hearing. And I think that you and I have both batted at that in the past. And I'm really excited about where we are right now in terms of our storytelling, both of us. In terms of finding stories about the communities that we find ourselves in and reflecting those back to the people that have done so much for us. And it's a nice way to kind of reflect back and give back in that way.
I try to travel light, and I went to the yard sale one year, and I grabbed a bunch of t-shirts to tide me over on my trip here. I bought them. The idea was I was going to donate them all at the end of the trip so I could travel light on the way back. And I did just that, but I kept one shirt because I needed to know the truth. Now, the front of the shirt is why I bought the shirt. It's a photo of a dog with the word setter. The front of the shirt is why I bought the shirt, but the back of the shirt is why I kept the shirt. For those of you not familiar with the written word, this reads, love is a 3-letter word. Dad. For those of you that are familiar with the written word, you know that love is not a 3-letter word. I'm going to show you the front again. I didn't trick you. This isn't 2 shirts that I swapped. This is one shirt meant for one person, and I do not know who or why this shirt exists. And it is why I've kept it all of these blessed years. So I thought maybe I can make up a story, try to make some sense of this thing. Maybe this shirt, maybe it belonged to a guy named Daryl, let's say. Daryl from Summerside. Let's say Daryl, he didn't have a wife or kids, but he had a dog, and despite not having a wife or kids, he also didn't have an imagination. He named the dog Setter. And then Setter, he died. And I know it's sad to think of a dog dying. Let's say Setter died of liver cancer. He died of it is a made-up dog with made-up liver cancer. So Setter's dead. We've established that. And Daryl, he's pretty put out, as you would be, having a dog who died of liver cancer. So his friends, they're thinking, we got to cheer Daryl up. He needs some good cheer. And one says, Daryl hasn't been the same since his dog died of liver cancer. We should do something. We should get him a card. Yeah. Or, hear me out. What if we took what we put on a card, put it on a t-shirt? That's a great idea. Should we get in the same room and put our ideas together about what to put on the front and what on the back? No. You do the front, I'll do the back. We're clearly on the same page about this idea we just had. So this is designed by committee. You've got the Uncanny Valley depiction of a dog with Times New Roman font on the front, and on the back, you've got a fortune cookie written in what appears to be Space Jam font. Love is a 3-letter word. What does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's just nonsense. It's just pure nonsense. It's one someone puts on a t-shirt and gives to a friend you barely know who's grieving a dead dog, dying of an imaginary illness. Even if that story is 1% true, the one thing that we know for certain is Daryl got rid of the shirt. He didn't...